Welcome to Unsilent with your hosts Dave and Brian. This is not another current events podcast. We are digging deeper, diagnosing, and discussing what's really going on today, how we got here, and providing observations for future generations.
Welcome to Unsilent. We're Brian and Dave. We'd love to hear where you think we got it right, where you think we don't know what we're talking about. And you can do that on unsilentpodcast.com. You can do that by visiting Rumble and any of the other social media channels where people come to share wisdom and truth and what they've had for dinner. So,
wisdom, truth, cat videos.
Cat videos. Yeah. Before we start there, my grandson, I've got a 2-year-old grandson. He watches these AI cat videos that are cats doing, they look as completely realistic as they possibly could. There's cats doing everything that a human being would do in high definition, so it's this overlay of cute. And I wonder as I watch those whether that's the thing that has me most concerned about AI, because I wonder if this is the subliminal messages are corrupting my grandson's mind with these cat videos. So there you go. That's
it's funny you mentioned that. I don't watch a ton of cat. I mean, you can't not see cat videos. I think if you're scrolling through social media,
yes, exactly.
I probably see as many as the average person, I guess, but I don't see a ton of them. But I do. I do like watching the nature clips, like with the gazelles running away from the lion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And AI has infiltrated that whole thing. So whenever I see one of those videos pop up, my immediate thought is this real?
Yeah.
So I wonder if just that little hesitation in every interaction we have online is going to have some kind of, I don't mean like it's going to cause major problems. I don't mean like that, but if our default mode goes from, well, of course this is on video, it must be true, to, oh, this is on video, it's probably not true, that's going to have some kind of impacts of some sort. I don't know what.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think there's some real, societal, psychological, kind of risk there. I like you, I don't know exactly what it is, but if you can't trust your eyes, you literally can't believe anything you see, which is where we're at. You literally cannot believe anything you see now. You don't believe your senses at all. I mean, what's that going to do to us? I don't know.
Well, I do believe every one of the Lego videos coming out of Iran. I have to say before I got a couple of things I want to show you, then we'll get into more media topics. But I have to say, in no way am I like rooting for the regime of Iran. Like, not at all. But I gotta say, I can be a Seattle Seahawks fan and recognize a good player for a different team.
Sure, yeah.
I gotta say, Iran's trolling game is pretty significant.
Epic. No, they're pretty good. Yeah, no, I've seen a few, not a lot, but the ones I've seen are like, it's quite they've got quite the Western education there.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of education, I want to show you, this is like a 17-second video clip here, and I got a couple of graphics I'll show you that I'll explain to people who are listening in just audio only format. But I did get a bit of an education this week, and Let me show you the clip that enlightened me here.
Yes, do show me.
This is everyone's favorite mayor in Chicago. What's his name? Brandon Johnson?
Oh, Johnson. Yeah. Brandon.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here he is, and this was educational for me. So here's what he had to say.
All right.
And you just watched an entire city council in transparency try to take wages away from the very people who are part of an industry that has its ties to slavery. Nobody's hiding from that. I am boldly declaring that we need reparations in this city, and that's why I'm funding it.
All right. So he's talking about the restaurant industry. I did not know the restaurant industry had its roots
in slavery.
Guy, can you help me? Like agriculture, I can totally wrap my head around that.
Totally
wrap my head around that. The restaurant industry, I'm not quite tracking.
I don't know if that's exactly what happened, when the evils of slavery in the Americas started, if they were bringing people over to wait tables I don't know. That's
I
a new
guess if I
one.
had to make a leap, I could say, okay, well, there were slaves who work in the kitchens and like the dining rooms of the plantations.
I
I guess if
suppose.
I could make a leap like that, but
I suppose.
restaurants don't seem like the low-hanging fruit for the slavery connection to me.
You
But
know, there are plenty of arguments he could make that about where slavery had literal, documented historical impact. So to me, that clip just shows a lack of imagination and a lack of clarity, because I could make a better argument for reparations than he just made.
yeah, yeah, no, I agree. Okay, the other thing I want to show you, this is the chart I mentioned last week, but I couldn't find it
Oh yeah.
fast enough to show you. I'll just pull it up real quick. There's nothing really to go into too much detail here, but this is actually from Fred. This isn't some, like made up, thing. This is the World Uncertainty Index for the United States. Okay, so and it's a chart showing somewhere between 0 and 0.5, all the way through like the 50s, 60s, 1975. There's a spike up to about 0.7. Then it falls back down and it kind of hovers around 0.3 for decades. 2000, 2001 during the dot-com bust, you can
Yeah.
see it gets up to 0.5 again. Then it comes back down and it gets back up there again. I'm guessing around the GFC,
Mm-hmm.
comes back down. And look at 2026. It's
Oh
up
my
to it's like
word.
4 or 5 times the normal range. It's they're just like this is like global uncertainty is what they're measuring here.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, that seems about right to me, but it also seems incredibly unnerving. I mean,
Yeah.
because people, well, the other thing I think about uncertainty that is unnerving is that when people are uncertain, they'll do things that they normally wouldn't do. They'll do, potentially,
Yeah.
Riskier things.
Interesting point. I never really thought about that, but in the context of the fourth turning, that totally what you just said totally makes sense. That the more uncertain things get, the more erratic people's. I mean, look no further than our president, his tweeting.
Yeah.
The more uncertain you are about anything, the more erratic and risky your behavior is going to be, which probably makes the fourth turning accelerate, not slow
Yeah,
down.
exactly.
Yeah,
I think
that's a solid point.
that's a scary thought, because the
Yeah.
normal. I mean, the fourth turning is all about the unraveling of norms and institutions, and when you unravel the mental kind of societal expectations, then boy, Katie barred the door.
Yeah. All right. Last thing I'll show you that's a visual thing here. This is a chart showing this is a California school system. And this is a chart showing staffing versus enrollment. So it starts in the school year 2014, 2015, where in 2014, 2015, there were 6.3 million students
Mm-hmm.
and 571-ish thousand employees. All right. If you look at today, enrollment is down about 10% to 5.8 million,
Mm-hmm.
but staffing is up about 15% to 651,000 employees. So as we get fewer students, we need more staff. So that's how California is rolling nowadays.
So are all the students just graduating and going to work for the district? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I guess.
It could be.
I don't know.
Oh my word.
A couple of things I have saved, and we'll get into, like I said, more consequential topics. But I just found this funny in a really snarky, not very kind kind of way. So Polymarket released this information that Gavin Newsom, California governor, reportedly used $1.5 million from his PAC to boost his own book sales, with roughly 67,000 donors receiving copies of his book or about 2/3 of total sales. So
it's a
he,
bestseller when you give it away for
sells
free.
100,000 books, but he buys 67,000 copies from himself from his pack to send to his donors. That's how you get on the New York Times bestseller list.
That's how you get to be a bestseller. You give it to all your friends, all 67,000 of your friends. I think I'm going to write a book, buy them all up, and declare myself a award-winning author. Here we
Not
go.
only is it just like silly and like again, you can't even look at politics without seeing some kind of fraud or like whatever. Okay, put that aside. This is the current state of politics is entirely performative. Like there's nothing
100%.
substance. It's just all performative at this point. Like why are things falling apart? Because they're more concerned about how many books they get credit for selling than actually solving any real problems.
Any actual problems. Yeah.
Speaking of fraud, we in the headlines over the last couple of weeks as this Iran thing is kind of going back and forth, or going forth and forth, maybe if you just look at Trump like arguing with himself, I guess. The headlines are all like, well, oil is still under $100 a barrel. Oil's still under $100 a barrel, except for the futures price is under $100 a barrel. Again, reportedly, possibly because the U.S. Treasury's shorting the futures market.
Right.
But at the same time, we're quoting oil at under $100 a barrel on, this is the 16th, so about a week ago. In Singapore, physical oil, the price was between $210 and $286 a barrel.
Oh my word! Well, yeah, and it's Asia is the place that is suffering the worst. Right. I mean, in fact,
Singapore was 210, Sri Lanka was 286.
Yeah. The Philippines is, I do business in the Philippines, and they're suffering in enormous ways. I mean, they actually have shortages, literal shortages. We don't have any shortages here. We're paying more at the pump, and so we're grouchy because Americans get grouchy when you pay a little bit more. But in terms of an actual serious crisis, what's Asia? Is that it's like half of the world population? More than half, 2/3, something like that. 2/3 of the world's population are suffering, and those are the people. Singapore can afford it. Singapore is a rich place, but the Philippines, Sri Lanka, a number of other places like that are not so rich, and they are suffering in serious ways.
Probably not all that rich. I don't know. But
no, Indonesia is not. No, there's a lot of places there that are not that rich, and I mean, it's scary.
So how could that be? The next thing I'm going to tell you is going to explain how that can happen. How could oil be? I think today it's $92 a barrel, but a week ago they're paying $286. One of the times, and I want to emphasize one of the times because there's been several where Trump has announced the Strait of Hormuz was open. 20 minutes before that, some lucky dude or lucky person opened up a $760 million short position 20 minutes before he made that announcement, where oil dropped $20 a barrel, and they probably made $500 million or $200 million. I mean, in 20 minutes. Let me say it this way so I can say it confidently. The perception of fraud is just, I've never seen anything like it.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's unreal because it's surprising that you don't hear something more about that from some side of the press. I mean, you don't hear it from the right hand side. You don't hear it from the left hand side. I mean, we're just not hearing.
I did hear rumblings that, I don't know if it's the SEC or what organization of the government would look into this kind of stuff. I heard a rumor that was happening, but that was a few days ago, and I saw one or two headlines, it was gone, and so who knows if they are. I'm right there with you. Like, I gotta think Elizabeth Warren and who's the guy, the Schumer and Schiff, the usual suspects who just like definitely had it out for Trump, arguably when he didn't deserve it.
Right.
This would be like way more plausible thing to like actually go after. I kind of. At first, my first reaction was like, what the hell? Like, why are they doing this? And then my immediate next thought was, oh, well, the reason they're not doing this is because they do this too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's if if it were one side or another, playing shenanigans, somebody's going to call it out. But if nobody's calling it out, that tends to tell you that it's not just isolated into one place.
All right, I got two more quick things. This one, it's not really funny. Again, it's just indicative of the time that we're in. So I don't know if you heard about there was an Indian flagged oil tanker that was fired upon by the Iranian.
Oh yeah. I heard the recordings.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the mishap was the captain of the Indian vessel had secured safe passage through the strait.
Yep.
But from the Iranian perspective, he had not. And the reason is because he got taken for a $2 million crypto scam.
Really?
Somebody reached out to him posing as the Iranian IRGC or whatever and said, here's where you deposit your $2 million worth of Bitcoin. They did.
Oh my gosh.
So
I hadn't heard that part.
Scam is what led to all that.
Oh my gosh, I hadn't heard any of that. Wow. Well, I mean, somebody must have been really, really well connected to be able to have access into, get to the captain, do all this stuff. I mean, oh man.
All right, last thing of my little silly things, and we'll get into your more substantial topics. Did you hear that the UK yesterday officially approved lifetime smoking bans for anyone born after 2008?
No, I didn't hear that.
You cannot buy cigarettes for your entire lifetime in the United Kingdom if you're born after 2008.
Really? Interesting. Well, I guess the nanny state is on. I mean, I'm not in favor of smoking, but still, the nanny state is on steroids in Great Britain.
Few things used to annoy me more than going to a restaurant and trying to enjoy my meal and having cigarette smoke into my face. Yeah. I absolutely
awful.
Way to get me to go from like 0 to 100 and pissed off like right now. No question.
Yeah.
But you don't need to ban people from smoking. Why can't you just say your smoke can't like affect somebody else? Or like, there's ways to do this where you don't have to be the nanny state.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they don't know any of that there. I mean, they're searching for Great Britain is to me one of the saddest, stories of historical, falls in all of human history. I mean, they were the dominant sea power for a very long time. I mean, you heard that they tried to send it was like a missile frigate or a destroyer or something, HMS Dragon, a fierce British warship, and the thing broke down halfway to the Persian Gulf, and they had to have it towed back. It's just like, and then it's just such a sad story because I love British history. I'm kind of a British history buff, and and where they've gone from being a leading world power, the pound sterling was the thing before World War II, and to where they're at today, where they can't. I mean, they can't put a nuclear warhead on their own missile. They got to borrow our missiles. Just everything. It's just they're just a failed state.
Speaking of the British Empire, I mean, I wasn't there. You were there. I wasn't there. But
I've been there from the beginning.
In the 40s, 1940s, World War II was kicking off, and you were probably 35 or whatever.
40-ish, yeah.
The videos of Queen Elizabeth like doing things to actually help people. Like, I can't remember exactly what she was, but she was like bringing lunches to troops, and she was like doing things and like stopping by factories and things.
Yeah,
but not just like camera poses, like actually like moving. Like she was in a GI uniform or something like that in one of them, if I remember correctly. Or working in the nursing stations, like whatever. But doing meaningful things. What can you imagine King Charles could do that would be meaningful in any capacity right now?
I don't think he's got the capability of doing anything meaningful. No. I mean, he's always kind of been, I mean, I'm sad to say this, he's always been kind of a joke. And now, I mean, the biggest question about Charles' entire life is how did he get a woman like Diana to marry him? That's the biggest question in about King Charles. It's just so it's so sad.
And then his brother's only good at one thing. That's not going to help in the war effort.
Exactly. Yes, exactly right. And the whole collapse there is, and the collapse of the law and order, the collapse. I mean, just the whole thing.
self-respect as a nation, like just the loss of that. I mean, I get not that I'm wishing for countries to be empires, but like have some dignity for crying out loud.
Right,
How do you conduct yourselves as a society? Anyhow, okay, so let's get into the more meatier topics. The by my estimation, we're like the Harlem Globetrotters, and Iran's like the Washington Generals, because I think we're 87-0 in this war.
Yes, like, well, and now now we have declared. I mean, so okay, let's just rewind a little bit for contrast's sake. A couple weeks ago, we were on the verge of civilizational destruction.
Easter night, we were going to end their civilization. Yeah.
Civilization is going to be ended. The bridges are gone. The power plants are gone. Everything's gone. This is the end. And today, President Trump declared that there's no end to the ceasefire. Yeah, we haven't really put a due date on it because the Pakistani leadership has asked us to, could you not blow them up for a while? I mean, so the plausibility of any of that is so remote in terms of, like, when does Pakistan pick up the phone and call the United States and get them to do anything? I mean, for what purpose? Why? What? The only reason is so that he can save face. At this point, it's full blown. I'm full blown skeptical on the whole thing. It's just, I wasn't to begin with, but I am.
I gotta say, if you just back up 6 months, or especially a year ago, but even 6 months, let's just say a year ago. If you back up 6 months ago, like, there's plenty of things like you and I talked about here. I don't agree with Trump on a lot of things as far as policies. I think it was definitely between him and Kamala Harris. Like, we didn't really have a choice, in my opinion. Like,
right,
it was going to be a disaster.
Yep.
And I stand by that. If I had a time machine, I would have to make the same choice.
Yep.
But the one thing you can't take away from him is his political ability to read the room. Like, he was just very astute and understanding, and he has lost all of that. Like, it's like, I don't know if he was just masking it really well, or if he's just being led down a path by some powers that we don't understand. But it is a stark deviation from his political awareness. It's not plausible in any way. Like you said, like nothing he says is believable on this thing. Like, and he contradicts himself. Like, I mean, he tweets like 7 times a day about this one topic, and they're not even a similar message. They're not even telling a long story. He's like arguing with himself on Twitter, like, open up the damn strait, you effing this or effing that, or we're gonna end your civilization. And then the next one is like, well, the Iranian people they're good people there. They asked us to not blow them up, so they're gonna open the strait up, and everything's cool now. And then like 42 minutes later, he goes off on him again. Like, what?
Yeah. Well, the only thing that could possibly sort of rescue the whole thing from him, I mean, at the end of the day, the way that things are right now, the U.S. does have, I mean, obviously we've got the better position because we could, this is what I was thinking, if we continue to interdict, around the world, Iranian, shadow fleet tankers and this kind of thing. If we continue to take those over, and they have no money because nobody's getting let through the strait, if that does indeed happen, then the situation could be saved for him if that happens in a very short period of time. So the other reason that it's happening the way it is because the stock market, it gives him the benefit of the doubt like no other. Like, I mean, just if it were a normal, price fixing stock market, if it were a normal price discovery, rather not price fixing, price discovery mechanism in the stock market, then oil would be trading at 150, 180, $200 a barrel. But since it's not, he's been given in U.S. terms, in Western blinders on terms, the ability to do all sorts of things or to not do all sorts of things that prolong this thing potentially indefinitely. But again, if the Iranian people, if they start running out of money to pay the IRGC, that's the key. if they start running out of money to pay the IRGC, then everybody except the true believers is going to quit, is going to do something else. Because it doesn't matter who you are and what civilization. Not everybody wants democracy. Not everybody wants freedom. Not everybody, all the things that we went and did nation building on, they're not true. It's just not the way the world is. But everybody does need to eat. Everybody does need to, have heat for their house. And if there's no money at all for Iran, and the 80% of the people say, forget it, I'm not working for you anymore, then it could very well be that the more normal factions in Iran, come to the fore and negotiate and all that. So that's the hope, I hope.
Yeah, I think the difficulty I have is I don't believe either party. I don't believe really anything Trump says at this point. Like it's all just rhetoric to keep the stock market valuation up. Like it's 100% what that is now.
Yep.
Well, that's not true. I wouldn't say 100%. I'd say it's 80% that, 20% to save face, like to get himself out of this mess he's probably realized he's in. Right.
Sure.
And then on the Iranian side, like I don't believe that they have a strong commitment to the truth in these circumstances.
Well, I don't think on the Iranian side, I don't think there is a they. I mean, that's the problem. Is it's like there's these guys,
because the only people telling us there's not a they are the people who are lying to us about trying to keep the stock market up.
Well, there's that too. So it's
to try to balance this. Okay, it's like, well, what are historical allegories between the IRGC now? Well, I could look at the Revolutionary War. Plenty of soldiers who fought for the fledgling colonies didn't get paid for a long time.
No, that's true. Yes,
but their heart was in it. And okay, well, what if a very Catholic country like Spain or Italy, like a really, really Catholic company where they had like hardcore Catholic Christians, were fighting against people who killed the Pope? How much of that would be dependent upon their paycheck, and how much would be about their ideology? Now, I'm not saying it would be 100-0.
Yeah,
you're right. People got to eat, and they got to feed their kids, and they got to have houses and stuff like that. But I don't think we can look it through our lens because we don't have the same ideological commitment that they do.
Sure. And the other thing is, I think the problem that everybody has with Iran is that it's impossible to understand. So, I mean, I think it's so like, as I look at it, you've got, all these different factions. You've got the Persians, which are the majority, but they're not in control. The Persians aren't in control. You've got the Kurds over here. You've got all these different factions, and so like in the analogy that you just laid out, the facts that you just laid out, we killed their leader. Well, we did kill the leader of some of them.
Right.
But how many people really loved the leader versus how many people hated the leader? I mean, so I think it's really it's almost a completely incalculable situation because of it. It should be like 5 different countries, not one country. If it was divided up, appropriately, right, geographically or by tribal affiliation or whatever. And you've got the young versus the old. So it's just way too complex.
Yeah, and you're making a solid point there. Let's go back in time to like 2022, let's say, where there was probably around there, 2022, I would say, was one of the peaks, not the peak necessarily, but one of the notable peaks in division between the left and the right in our country.
Sure.
Right. And I would argue that most of our armed services probably, I don't know, I'll just say 60-40 is probably more conservative, 40% more.
I think so, yeah.
If somebody came along in 2022 and whacked Joe Biden,
right,
the 60% who are more conservative wouldn't cry for Joe Biden necessarily, but they would say, he might have been a dipshit, but that's still my president. You don't want to kill my president.
Sure.
And that would be a meaningful thing. Like,
you bet.
Again, there's so much complexity here. Nobody knows who's telling the truth, and you only get points of view from very biased people. Like I've watched more YouTube videos on Iran in the last few weeks than I ever watched in my lifetime before that.
Yeah.
And you have either people who dismiss Iran as even being like, they don't even have a navy. Well, okay, but they don't need a navy. Like they're holding us at bay with no navy. So are you bragging or complaining about this no navy thing? I don't get it. Right.
Right.
Or you have the other people who are like just so anti-Trump that anybody who can stick their finger in his eye including the Iranians, like we're all for it. So
Yeah.
that's the sources I've been able to find for any
Right.
kind of news or understanding of what's going on. But the one thing I will say, this guy is very biased against Trump. He's a professor in Chicago. You can tell he does not like anything about Trump.
Right.
I wouldn't say he's rooting for Iran, but he wouldn't be upset if Iran was able to stick their finger in Trump's eye.
Right.
I think he made a solid point here, though, which was, okay, we hear all the time that they've been this regime for 47 years. And for many of those 47 years, they've had significant economic sanctions against them.
Sure they have, yeah.
He says, okay, well, what happens to a country when the entire world for almost a half a century puts economic sanctions on them? Well, they get pretty self-sufficient.
Sure.
They don't come to us for manufacturing of aspirin like we do to China. If they need to build buildings, they have places that can produce the materials to build buildings. If they need to build cars, our ability to hurt them economically is kind of diminished because they've kind of weathered. They got through the hardest part, which was they had to build all this infrastructure and manufacturing. Now, did we take out some of their manufacturing? I'm sure we did in that bombing campaign. But this idea that they're going to be held hostage by us because a strait's closed, I'm sure it's costing them money. There's no question.
Yeah.
But it's not costing them money like it would cost Hawaii money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, and a lot of it's also because, in terms of their hardiness and ability, it's the same point you're making, really. They're very hardy people because they've not only they put up with sanctions, they've also put up with, having a very, dictatorial, hardline regime for that same period of time. So individuals there had to learn to be more self-sufficient because not just because of external pressure, but just because of internal pressure as well. So it's really hard to say, what is the breaking point and when do, and because there's no internet access to the country, we just don't see what's happening there. So we don't know whether or not, there's massive unrest, whether there's a little bit unrest. We just don't know. And so it makes it, if we had some sense of if there were, cells throughout the country that were broadcasting, but they've done a very good job of holding the internet hostage, basically.
Yeah. The other thing I would say about hardiness is I don't know that I've seen videos of Tehran, and I've seen videos of places where they have like their missile silos and stuff like that. Other than that, I can't tell you a lot about the landscape.
Yeah.
But I've seen lots of videos of Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria. Centuries of living in what I would call a not so hospitable part of the planet also builds that fortitude.
It does. No, it does. And also you got to remember there's 91 million or so of them. So so if 80 million are unhappy and 10 million are, have all the guns, then it also makes it a little bit more difficult to, and if only 10% of the population are true believers, that still is a significant, so I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. I think Trump has one card, and that is the economics card. That's the only card he's got at this point. But it was interesting today to see that the Chinese finally said open the Strait of Hormuz. So that was
to us or to Iran?
To Iran, apparently to Iran. Well, I don't know if it was as because they're very coy and
they're very cagey. Yeah,
they're very cagey in the way that they say things. But as I heard it reported, at least, it was more of to the Iranians kind of, the strait should be open because, it's not fair to hold the world hostage or some such thing.
Well, that's the thing about, I agree that Trump has one card to play, which is the economic card, but it's a double-edged sword. He's hurting them, but he's also hurting 2/3 of the countries on the planet.
Yeah.
The same, they're not getting out of this unscathed. Let's say the strait open tonight. By some miracle, everybody comes together and they have a party and cake and ice cream and everybody gets along and everything's cool. Right. It never happened. Okay, we still have 6 weeks of oil that was never delivered. There's still going to be shortages. There's still going to be real world impacts in transportation and food, fertilizer stuff, and the transportation of food. And by no means are we out of the woods. Even if they said everything's cool tonight,
Well,
the economic impact on the world could be vastly more substantial than the economic impact of just Iran.
well, yeah, absolutely. Well, and the reality is, I think what most people don't realize is when the strait was closed, it was closed very recently. And so we literally have not felt the impact
Right.
of the closure yet. We have not felt the impact of the shortage yet because there's, at any one time, those freighters, those oil freighters go very, very slowly across the ocean.
Yeah.
And so there was plenty of oil that was in transit when it was closed but now, we're starting to feel it. And like you say, even if it opened up right now, that doesn't put gas in the tanks of people in Sri Lanka or Singapore or China.
Yeah.
Anytime in the near future, it's gonna be a while. So we're gonna feel this very, very soon in ways that we haven't yet felt it.
And I do have to say again, I think full transparency. I think Trump has bumbled this. I think he was led into this by Netanyahu and pretty quickly regretted it. That's my hypothesis. I'm fully aware that it's probably wrong somewhere along the way, and I don't have the whole picture. But that's my sense is if Trump had to do it over again, he would not. That's my guess.
Probably not.
But now he's in it, and his ego is such that he can't take the L.
No.
In fact, I heard somebody say something. Stephen Cohen, is that the guy's name? Cohen was like a famous lawyer in New York City.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Like the early 80s. He was famous for, I don't know if it was like a mob case or something like that, but he was some kind of lawyer in New York City, apparently was some kind of mentor to Trump.
Okay.
And gave him like the playbook, which is like 3 rules: never admit defeat, like maximize leverage at all times, deny anything. Well, that's kind of like they never admit defeat, deny anything, that like always declare victory / never admit defeat. Like maybe that's all one thing.
Right.
So he had this like playbook. Well, Trump is sticking to it. Like he will not take the loss. He will not take the L. No matter what, you cannot say you lost. You always have to declare victory.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that in all his rhetoric, right?
Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I am surprised that there's not more mounting international pressure against Trump from country leaders saying, okay, like, listen, we got, you don't want to have nuclear weapons. It seems like that's not an immediate threat. Best case scenario, it's there 100 feet underground. It's going to take them a few months to dig it out. Open the damn strait. I'm not hearing a lot of that. Are you?
No. And I think the reason is because the U.S. is still two things. The U.S. is still completely outsized in terms of our impact. So, even versus China, I think what I've come to believe is that China is much less powerful than I thought they were a year ago. I'll put it that way. And the second reason that I think we haven't seen that from world leaders is because they don't know what to do with Trump. They just have no idea what to do with Trump. I mean, he came into office, no foreign wars, people say that he didn't say it exactly like that, but so however you spin it, but he might. Who knows what he might do? Who knows what he might do? He might jettison NATO. So now all the Europeans are going to go down and they're going to keep the strait open, and which I do find. I listened to Keir Starmer's, the PM of Britain. I listened to his statement on the strait, and I did find it incredibly laughable. I did find, it's like, what is all this tough talk now? I mean, and so I don't think we should exit NATO. I think that's a stupid thing. I don't think we will. I don't believe that's going to happen. But the things that the Europeans are talking about doing, we're going to get this coalition and we're going to do all this stuff. Okay, well, where were you? You should have been. I mean, Trump's right about that. Where were you? You should have been, doing something at least. Maybe just show up with a gunboat or two,
Well, going back to the points you made earlier, though, they tried to get a ship there. They had to tow it back home.
Yeah.
And also, like we said half an hour ago, like, not that King Charles is in charge in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
But the level of competency for leadership abroad, across the globe, I would say, is not. So you got incompetent leaders who are dealing with the American powerhouse with a wild card of Trump at the helm.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's why that's the exact answer to why world leaders aren't doing anything, because it's just the whole thing is just completely couldn't be more. It could be more screwed up. It definitely could be more screwed up. People, Spain could go to war with France, so that would be bad. But other than something like that, or Turkey deciding now is the time they're going to take over Syria or whatever. Yeah, there could be other things that could go wrong. But not too many. I mean, the whole thing is a clown show.
I guess if I add a fourth thing, like you said a couple minutes ago, also, we haven't felt the real impact of this yet. So you got incompetent leaders up against the behemoth with a wild card at the helm, and the real impact hasn't been felt yet. So I guess you've kind of answered my question.
Well, and then I'll add the fifth one to it. The stock market and the financial markets and all the brilliant financial minds of the earth have lost their minds.
Yeah,
they've all lost their minds. They don't know. I mean, they're valuing AI companies in insane ways. They're not taking into account what's happening with oil. I mean, all of these things. The stock market should not look like the stock market looks by measures of. And I'm not a financial guy. I mean, I know as much as a small business person knows about finance, and that's about it. Yeah. But I can see that the whole markets system is completely and thoroughly bollyhocked up.
Yeah. Well, I would trust a guy like Warren Buffett, and he's got $350 billion in cash waiting for things to come back to reality.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I'm taking my $350 and I'm putting it in cash.
Yeah, I know you only have like 35 billion, but
it's decreased a little bit later.
Okay, last thing on Iran that is coming to mind for me. There is this possibility, again, how plausible or likely, I have no idea. I don't know who can do what over there. I really don't. But it would take a little bit of luck, but it seems like it would be doable for Iran to close the other strait, the one that the Houthis could go close.
Yeah, the Red Sea.
Yep. They could do some real damage to the Saudi pipeline.
Yes, they could.
Kind of evades the thing. And there's a third thing. I don't have memorized what the third thing is. But if they did all three of those things fairly quickly and they got some luck and they pulled it off, now we're talking about 32% of the world's oil not flowing, not just the 20%.
Yeah, that's disaster.
And so I my point being, again, I'm not rooting for them. I wish all these morons would get their shit together and like stop doing the stuff that I think is not really benefiting anybody. But it also seems unlikely that they're just gonna like kiss and make up and like it never happened. I just don't see how that's gonna be a possibility.
No.
It seems unlikely Iran wouldn't try to do something, and it seems unlikely the US wouldn't try to do something, and it seems unlikely Israel wouldn't try to do something. Like there's gonna be a last hurrah, probably, whatever that's gonna be, who knows?
Yeah.
But if Iran was able to pull this thing off, we haven't even seen what it's gonna be.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's hyperbole to say that puts us on either in or on the brink of depression, not just recession. Because that amount of oil disruption, we would feel it less here, but we would still feel it. But the rest of the world Asia would be in depression. I mean, literal depression.
The whole, speaking of the financial markets, like the whole, Japanese carry trade where they've borrowed.
Right. Yeah, we talked
the interest rates were zero, and then they take that money and they go invest it. They make the difference. Well, that whole thing comes unwound, and that's estimates are up to $20 trillion involved in that. I mean, that is, if that just one thing happened, that's depression.
Yeah.
If just the oil thing happened, that's depression.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean,
so maybe we'll get lucky and maybe there will be a gray leader in Iran that rescues the Iranians and it is one thing that Trump said the other day. I got to thinking about it. He said they could be such a great country. And you think about it, and probably the saddest part of this whole thing is that all of this is so utterly unnecessary in terms of, human flourishing of just the Iranian people. it would be so easy for that country has resources, has history, the things that it's got going for it. If they just had marginally sane leadership and marginally, democratic laws of some sort, they could be a powerhouse. And so it's in every person there, this extremism, this millennialist extremism that drives them, the apocalyptic extremism, is so sad because they could all be doing well. It would be so easy for all of them to be doing well. Yeah, frustrating.
I agree with you 1,000%, and I can take it one of two ways. I can totally get behind what Trump is saying for Iran, that if we just get these morons that are running the thing out of office, out of power, they could do really cool things. And then I also go, that's also true for every country in the world,
sure,
including the U.S., including Mexico, sure, including South Africa, including Somalia, including every country could flourish in tremendous ways if the bozos in charge would just stop screwing it up.
Well, that's a true story. I think it's more true with some countries than others. And Iran is one of them.
Iran's going to have an easier time than Somalia. There's no question.
But nevertheless, still, it's a valid point, because I've thought for many years. In fact, when I was a very young man, in the 1830s, I thought. I was considering, when I first started considering the politics of the Middle East, I had this idea one time that, if we could come up with some kind of chemical weapon that we just spray over the entire Middle East that makes everybody have complete amnesia, forget everything that they know, and then just tell them, oh, you're all friends, you're all brothers, right. So you forgot this. The whole place, everybody would be happy because they all look basically the same. It's just the whole world would be just a happier place. And then, John Lennon starts singing.
35 years.
Yeah, well, until somebody, steps on somebody's toes, and then the Hatfields and McCoys start again.
Ferdinand of Iraq gets whacked on the parade route.
On the way to his inauguration.
We only got a few minutes left here, but you mentioned something before we hit the record button today that we would be absolutely remiss if we didn't talk about. What is going on with all these nuclear and UFO scientists that are I think there's 11 of them now, if I got the count
11,
right, just, missing.
It's been
the last one, the McCaslin or whatever guy from the general of the Air Force. I think he's a general, Major General McCaslin of the Air Force in New Mexico. I heard it. The way I heard a story about him last night was he is the guy. If you want a disclosure to happen, he is the guy who has all the goods on everything. He would be the guy that if you could pluck anybody out of the U.S. government and say, he would be the one to be able to tell us what's really going on. He was the guy, according to this person.
Yeah, no, I've heard similar things. Yeah, this is where I start hearing the X-Files music playing behind me here, because this really is the stuff of spy novels or science fiction or something, because it's now, to put it in the right context, it's 11 top nuclear scientists and aerospace types of scientists, people that are the top people in their field, and it's since 2022, so it's not like in the last week or something like that. So it's over a period of time.
A handful in the last few weeks,
but it has been, it's accelerated recently, and now to the point where officials are looking into it and such, and that'll probably go nowhere because they look into things. Blue ribbon commissions never accomplish anything.
The last time that when the CIA checked to make sure looked into the CIA selling drugs, the CIA determined the CIA had done nothing wrong. So
exactly. So no, I'm not holding out a lot of hope that there's going to be a full disclosure of what's happened with that. But it's very interesting, the parallels between all of the people that have disappeared, and some of them, the way they disappeared is just I can't remember which one it was. It might have been McCaslin. I think that basically he was there when his wife was there. She left. When she came back, he was gone. His phone was still there, and
his Apple Watch, his glasses.
Yeah, they were still there. And then there was another nuclear scientist who disappeared literally from a trail. Just she went out on a trail and was gone, and people can search for bodies and things. Anyway, that is very spooky stuff. Very spooky stuff. I don't know. I don't even have a speculation, but certainly it's somebody someplace seems to want to prevent either certain breakthroughs from happening or certain things from being disclosed.
Yeah. So my initial hunch was, well, of course, the government took them out. That was
Sure.
because that's just where I'm at now. And
Yeah.
I used to believe the government. Like I used to really believe in them, and now it's like I almost look at them as like the biggest obstacle we have to face.
Yeah.
But somebody said something to me, or somebody said something on a video. Again, I'm watching all these videos on these topics now that I never would have watched videos on before. And this guy was kind of a I wouldn't say a wartime specialist, but a guy who knows like how that kind of stuff happens. And he says, well, when whatever year it was, 22 or 23 or 24, somewhere in there, Israel went in and like sent people into Iran and like did like wartime activities.
Sure.
And he said, well, who are the people they went after? They went after all the top scientists.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Well, why would you do that? Well, because they're the leading edge of the technology and the war systems and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, actually, that kind of makes sense. Maybe it's not our own government that took them out. Maybe it's China. Maybe it's Israel. Maybe it's Iran. Maybe it's who knows who, right?
Yeah.
Cuba. I mean,
yeah.
Russia. I mean, we don't have a short list of enemies anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to, I mean, we just don't have enough information to really know. But the fact that it's getting so much public notice now, it'll be interesting to see if it happens again in the near future. So, it's one thing for these things to happen when it's sort of under the radar, which it has been. I mean, we're just starting to hear about it now. It's been happening since 22. But maybe it is disclosure. Who knows? That could be.
This one guy, I didn't save it, and I did because I just saw it earlier today, but it was short enough. I think I can remember it. He was a guy who was a science, like a legit scientist, but he was also like affiliated with one of those like ancient alien shows or something.
Oh,
something
yeah,
like that.
sure,
So
yeah.
he was a legit scientist, but he also dabbled in this kind of UFO lore
UFO
kind
thing, yeah.
right? I think it might not have been his final, but I think it was his final social media post that said something like, "I'm not suicidal. I want to live. I have lots to live for. However, I am worried about what happens to people who disclose that God is real." And he disappeared like yesterday or the day before.
Oh, wow. I hadn't heard that one.
Now this is all around the same time that Trump makes this announcement. We're going to disclose all this UFO stuff.
Yeah.
The Blue Book, Project Blue Book, all that stuff's going to be, which I imagine they'll disclose it like they did the Epstein files, which means like they'll re-release the stuff they've already told us, and then not release the things that they haven't.
Yeah,
told
exactly.
Us. How we do that now.
Wow.
But that guy, his social media post was like, "I'm not suicidal. If anything happens to me, I didn't kill myself." And they ruled it a suicide when they found him.
Of course. Wow. Yeah, I still hear the X-Files music playing. I don't know.
It's wild times, man.
It is.
What an interesting time to be alive, for sure.
It is. I just hope we get some answers at some point of something. It's just that's the frustrating part, is the lack of any hope for getting actual real answers to questions, Maybe.
Yeah. Part of me thinks we'll find out, but I'll be dead and gone by the time the truth comes out, probably. And part of me thinks that, and part of me is like, careful what you wish for.
Right.
We want all this disclosure, but if we actually knew the ties between Epstein and all these different things, like our view of what the world is and how it works, would be
could it
so
change?
shattered that we would wish we didn't know again.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, that's I wonder about that same thing. I like to think that my worldview is flexible enough to be able to accommodate new information. But yeah, what if we learn things that just completely shatter everybody's worldview? That's all. It's always been the theory of people in the UFO community that the reason we don't know is because the government thinks we couldn't handle it. And my response to that in my own mind has been, tell me anything. I can handle reality. I mean, what is there that you could tell me that possibly would change how I think about reality? But maybe there is. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I used to hear that and be like, okay, but the limit of my thinking was, okay, if we found out we're not alone in the universe, that would upset people's religion or whatever. And part of me is like, okay for a while, but they'll get over it, right?
Well, yeah.
But now, based on all the nefarious and incompetent actions I see, okay, but what if it's not disclosure that we're not alone in the universe, which again, mathematically, it's almost
Sure.
a certainty in my opinion, but
Sure.
whatever. What if it's actually who you vote for doesn't matter because those people are controlled by an Epstein class and the Epstein class is controlled by other people, another higher level up.
Sure.
And all this freedom and democracy you think you have is all a show.
Yeah.
That would disrupt people's worldview
Sure.
in a
Sure it
tremendous
would.
way, I think.
Yeah. No, sure it would. Sure it would. And that's why if that turns out to be the case, we'll never know it turned out to be the case because it's too powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, as Dave said in the beginning, we're trying to explain to future generations what this moment in time is like to live through, as they're undoubtedly going to look back on us like many generations and wonder what the hell's wrong with those people. So if you think there's something we talked about, we especially got right or wrong, we'd love to hear about it. You can do that at unsilentpodcast.com, or Rumble has a great comment section. Until next week, this is Dave and Brian signing off.
See you next week. The truth is out there.
Do you want to be unsilent? Make your voice heard on our social media channels and share where you think we got it right or wrong. Go to unsilentpodcast.com for social links so you can join the discussion.